All right, good. Ready? I'll call it to order. Commissioner Bloom, Brian Mon, and Don Cash present. It was properly posted on October 3rd. District 1. You want to lead us?
Oh, I always forget. I am in charge of the prayer when it is a special meeting. Let's just do a brief moment of silence, and then I will lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. So you can stand with me. Thank you. And now Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
District 3.
Thank you. Yes, this is a District 3 initiative, and I kind of want to start by just commending Colton Murphy for all the work that he has been putting into this for several weeks now. There's a lot of enthusiasm that's gone into putting this together. And with that, Colton, shall I hand off to Jamie? I think we have Jamie on the line, and maybe Laura with Accenture.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. They can give the whole brief overview of the grant that we voted on in the past.
Jamie, can you all put an overview together of where we are with this and what next steps need to be, please?
Yeah, do you want me to start or do you want Colton to start? However.
Colton?
I can give you guys the grant.
Go ahead.
We have this right now. Jamie, if you want to give like a brief overview as I give this to them. So, is that okay? Can you give like a brief overview while I hand these papers out?
She looks frozen.
Yeah. Colton, if you could a little bit closer to the mic, did you ask me to do a brief overview of how we got to where we are?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry. I can hear the commissioners really well, but just from that one mic, that one's hard. Okay. So what I wanted to, yes, Colton, to go ahead and share big picture how we got here.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So big picture, this is a 2-phase grant. First is phase 1, which is an economic development strategy grant. The EDA has put this out for $500,000 to $750,000 to do a strategy to help plan for economic development, of which they'll choose around 20 partners to do the strategy grant. And then of that, you could be selected for phase 2, which is a larger grant, up to $20 million, to do implementation. So you'll see we've put together 2 different strategies. One is this for the strategy. One is high level of how you could do the implementation grant. And the second one, the implementation grant, they said, yes, go ahead and put this all on paper. Yes, have a high level budget. But if selected for phase 1, we will help you to further refine who your partners are, what your strategy is, and really work with you for that larger pot of funding. And then I also want to talk about when we were trying to put this together, our big goals were to think about what is unique about Oklahoma County. So when EDA is trying to look at this and compare you all to all the other applicants, what will be different about this application than any other application? It also, we wanted to look at something that was innovative and new, that makes this different than any other economic development that's already been happening, while at the same time using a lot of your great economic development partners you already have to build their capacity. And so we did meet with a lot of the partners, and I want to talk through a couple questions, common questions we've got. One of the things it talks about is having a recompete coordinator. So someone that has all of your economic development partners and coordinates and convenes those partners. So we do have in this application that there will be an economic development recompete coordinator, but that position does not have to be a county employee. So we left it ambiguous in this application that it could be a county employee, or the county could choose, also given the capacity of the county could choose, like how we have those subrecipient agreements, for that recompete coordinator to be housed with one of your other great economic development partners. I do think for that coordinator, it'll be really important for that to be a central, unbiased convener of all of your great economic partners. So that's that first common question about this coordinator. Does it have to be a county employee or can it not be a county employee? You'll see in this application it's vague, so that as part of the strategy grant, we would decide if it's a county employee or if it's housed by one of your other community partners. And then there's some partners listed, how were partners selected. And so part of this, we looked through recommendations of some of the great partners that you guys are working with for your ARPA grants, as well as we've helped other state organizations with some economic development grants in the county and looking at some of those partners that could come together. About a month ago, we had some of those partners convene together and work through some strategies. But the partners we have listed today do not have to be our final partners because there are some other really, really great organizations in the county that could be a part of this larger implementation grant. And I will say also just due to time and applying for grants, some said, we can't commit today, but if you win, we would love to be part of the strategy phase for the later design. And then there's another question we got, is there a match? What are we committing the county to? First, there's not a match for this phase 1, but for future rounds, for the $20 million rounds where you submit the budget, it says, what are your other leverage funds? And we aren't committing the county to any additional funds, but just know that for the strategy grant, we would have, we're asking for the total funds for that. And then through that, we would look at what of our other partners have, either our business community, some of the state organizations, some of your nonprofits, and if there was anything that we would leverage for a match. We don't have to put a leverage match today, but if we get selected for the second round, we'd want to come up with either in-kind or some other leverage match. But this doesn't have to necessarily come from the county. Lastly, and then in this application, are we committing today by submitting this to what every agency will get? Is agency X going to get $1 million and agency B going to get $2 million? No, we have not committed to that. That's part of the strategy to say, now let's fully implement it and say about how much would go to each of these different strategies. And the EDA was very clear. We don't expect for the larger bucket for you to have everything filled out. That will help you fill out in the strategy grant, but give us your high level budget. And then finally, who would be the responsible for reporting of this grant? And so we do have in the strategy grant some administrative overhead, and that would be for the time that the county grants administrator spent on administering and reporting this grant. So those are some of the key questions, but happy to talk through more if Colton has any other thoughts and any questions from the group.
Any other thoughts? But
I have one question or one clarification. You said there's the first phase is the strategy phase, and then if we're selected, tell me what the next phase is again.
it's phase 2. So from the strategy, for the first part, we get a strategy development grant to develop the further strategies that we're putting in phase 2 application,
Okay.
which we're submitting as well.
And does phase 1 include that coordinator?
Yes.
Okay.
And Laura came on screen. She does a lot of economic development grants all over the country. May have anything you need to add, Laura?
Yep, all I'll say is that for phase 1 of the recompete plan program, that's unawarded. They're going to select around 20 finalists. Those 20 finalists will be invited to apply for phase 2. And then of those 20 or so finalists, they said that they're going to select 4 to 8 recompete plans across the nation, and those are going to get that larger pot of funds, which for our purposes is going to be closer to 20 million based on whatever we put in the budget in the end.
And can you might have already said this, what is the, let's say we were awarded both phase 1 and phase 2, what is the total length of time of the program?
Phase 1 is about a year.
Okay.
Phase 2, I think in the budget, I want to see, can we get shared screens on this or no?
Sorry, I can't hear Colton's microphone very well. For phase 1, as the strategies that we currently have in the strategy development grant application, that period of time is 12 months. But really, those strategies can be up to 3 years. And then for the recompete plan, those tend to be from 1 to 5 years. The way that we have it currently structured, we have it lasting 3 years. They also understand that if you are awarded the strategy development grant and you're selected as a finalist for the recompete plan, that there might be some overlap and that you don't have to have all of the strategy development grant activities done by the time you apply or get the money for the recompete plan.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a number of concerns about this. One, who do you envision to be the point of contact, or who do you think will facilitate this in your, I know it can be if it's selected or not, but do you have a vision for that now?
In my own opinion, personally, I don't know if it's ever been dissolved, but there was the Economic Development Authority created in 2015 that reports to the Board of County Commissioners, reports to a committee appointed by the Board of County Commissioners, almost like a public trust. So I kind of envision that being
I'm sorry, can you say the name of that again?
the Economic Development Authority under Title 19. So in 2015, we had created one. I don't know if it's ever been dissolved, but we authorized the creation.
Is this the one that Clay Bennett and Kirk Humphreys are on?
No, that's the Oklahoma Industries Board. That's a Title 60 trust.
Colton, do you remember if actual names and people were appointed? The board at the time, and Joe might remember, the board at the time just voted to create it.
I believe so. I didn't have I have the resolution number on my laptop. I don't
Okay.
have the resolution. So,
But you don't, Joe, was anyone appointed to it?
Commissioners, that economic development advisory group that Colton is referring to is the one, Commissioner Mon, that we utilized when we were doing the Luther Gate. They also, I think, perhaps did some planning. It was about the 2005 timeframe when I got here through about 2010 or so, I think. And there were actual members, Commissioner.
For the Turnpike?
Well,
Luther Gate?
it's an economic development statute that allows the board, the county, to establish an economic advisory. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. I can look it up here in a minute, but
Okay.
we had that in place at one time. And then I don't know the trust that he's referring to, but it is not the Oklahoma.
Yeah,
Industries
I see now. I remember that's the name of the other.
Are you more so asking who the coordinator would report to?
Yeah, I'm just, it's a lot of money, and to have not a clear idea. I mean, this is your deal, so I'm not trying to speak for you. You may have answers. Do you?
So my thought on this is what we're doing here is applying for funding for the strategy phase to come up with the answers that you are talking about exactly right and what we would do to implement. So this is funding our ability to strategize and put together a proposal for next steps. Instead of just us sort of scrambling to do it ourselves. This is saying, hey, we want help with coordination. And that will eventually be my motion as we discuss, is that we apply for this strategy phase to get to the next steps as we move along, if we were to be so awarded.
And today's the deadline?
Yes.
So
And-
like in 16 minutes?
11:59. So
Oh.
Okay, midnight.
a little bit longer than 16.
And
9:59?
didn't 10 o'clock, Nikki. Okay. And didn't we, a couple weeks ago, the board gave approval to Nikki to apply for this? Okay. But now we're actually submitting more formalized documents, and that's what you're asking
Yes,
for?
there's a letter we have to send from like the board.
Okay.
I have some edits on here I put as for D3, if you guys want to look at it. I'd like us to submit if it all passes.
Okay.
So.
They're not in this, you have
No,
additional.
you're right.
So none of this is attached, so we need to move to receive all this, I guess.
Okay, I'll move to receive this sample letter.
Second.
How about this other information? Does it need to be received
That's
also?
yeah, I think so. That's
Okay,
the
I'll
grant.
move to receive the sample letter, and then there, it looks like a strategy development grant narrative and the recompete plan, 2 sets of two packets of documents. So I'll move to receive all of that into the record.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, go ahead, Colton.
I don't think there's any other things that I have right now. Do you guys have any other questions? We're trying to get, Kit's going to show the budget that we're requesting in a second once he gets it up here.
Jamie, can you hear me?
What was the question?
I'm just asking if you can hear. So have you do you have a general counsel that advises you on this? I know Don's an attorney, but like, have you vetted this through what you think is your legal prism? You don't wonder if we have any issues with our internal
haven't run-
framework?
We haven't run through legal questions on this.
It's just so
We've done
much
just-
money. And while we're facing a federal audit for emergency grant stuff, and then the other things we've got on our plate right now, I just have concerns. It's just adding a lot. And then I don't think our DA's been consulted on it. Not that that's consistent. I mean, inconsistent. I know with the ARPA stuff that you've been involved in, but just because it involves something that's going ongoingly.
No, I think that's a very valid point. We have not talked to council. I haven't reviewed it through that lens. That is a very valid point. And I think Colton is pulling up the budget that we're talking about to be clear as to what the money would be in this strategy phase versus I'm hearing a $20 million number that is more of a long term.
Yes, so we're applying for both at the same time, but they fully expect from getting the first phase strategy development grant that the phase 2 will change. They just want to see some sort of framework that we actually can create a phase 2.
And I've heard that differently. I'm hearing that in different ways. So I just want to be clear with Laura and team, the applying for both at the same time as opposed to the phase 1 that we're looking at right now. Are we all on accord as to that part?
Yeah, I thought the agenda item only said phase 1. So are we, Nikki, are you submitting phase 1 and an application for phase 2?
Currently, we are only in the NOFO for phase 1. So both of the applications that we put together, both the strategy development grant application and the recompete plan application are for phase 1.
Okay.
What we were saying with phase 2 is that if selected as a finalist, we would then be invited to apply for phase 2 only for the recompete plan. But currently that NOFO isn't out yet, so we're not applying for that.
Okay, that makes sense.
And
Thank
does
you.
Accenture get paid out of this grant for their consulting on this?
No, not in this budget.
So who's paying for Accenture right now?
I think this is included in their ARPA contract that they would, correct me if I'm wrong, that they would assist the county with applying for other grant monies that can tie into what we spent.
My understanding that this is being paid for out of their existing contract and their existing services and is not in addition to.
Okay. And
That
then
is correct. Yeah,
okay.
that is correct.
All right. And then if is your envision is this is a program that only exists as long as the grant does, or do you think it sticks around after?
Not the recompete. I will say the grant wants those areas, those census tracts in Oklahoma City or Oklahoma County to be different in the next 10 years. But the grant funding only exists for up to 3 years for phase 2, if we were invited to go to phase 2. So I'd like economic development to continue, workforce development to continue in the county, but as of right now, I think 3 years per the grant.
So it doesn't in any way put the county in a position where they're expected, like some grants do, where we start picking up, or after it's done for so long, then we are expected to take it from there out.
I don't believe so.
Okay. You have any other?
Do you know the time frame of when they will let us know if we applied today? When they will let us know?
I think around December, this December.
Okay.
So
I don't think I have no other questions.
I'm not dissing all your work on this, but I still just have grave concerns, and it's a lot of money. I think we have a lot on our plate right now as it is, and so I just have concerns.
Thank you.
Okay,
I will move that we proceed in applying for the recompete phase 1 as described in the agenda.
I'll second.
okay, all in favor say aye,
Aye.
and I'll vote no. All right, thank you very much.
Thank
Any
you, Jamie and
Commissioner-
Laura.
We need to, like,
Thank you.
approve the letter.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, this will be part of our application.
What's your question, Nikki?
Yes, we want you to file the application. Sure.
Okay, the Economic Development Program and Advisory Group that was previously established in, listening to Colton, may still exist in Oklahoma County, is under Title 19, Chapter 28, Economic Development Programs, and it's Section 1101 through 1104.
So to no one's memory, you think the board at the time established the advisory group as an entity, but did not appoint anyone to it?
No, there were members of that advisory group
It just they're
It
not
hasn't
active and
met
it hasn't been
in-
dissolved.
a decade or so.
Okay.
And whether it was formally resolved or not, I don't recall. It appears that Colton found evidence that it was not.
Okay.
I'll have to pull the exact resolution, but
If it happened in '05, that predates my time. It was that time I was gone.
That group may have been here in '05, but it was in that time frame of '05 to '10 that group was actually meeting. Because I know some of the funds that were used from general fund towards the Turnpike Gate completion were economic development funds.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Joe.
So whose signature goes on this? Does that need to be clarified? Is going to be the point of contact? Because I know, like with all the sheriff's grants,
yes.
I get emails ad nauseum about it. But David Baston usually is the one who's facilitating it, for instance, on theirs.
Right. I would assume it's either all three of us or just you.
And I'm happy for it to be us.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, that's what I was going to suggest
Yeah,
because the left hand should know what the right hand's doing. So you're doing all the homework on it.
I'm happy for us to be the signatory.
So you
Thank
want to
you.
make a motion to that effect?
I'll move that District 3, the Office of District 3 is the signator on the grant application.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any other item that you can think of, Nikki, that we need to do on this? Okay. Any comments from either of you?
No, thank you.
Citizens to be heard? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.